and that's on the second page. And aspartame has also helped work with people who suffer from diabetes because it gives them a greater range of foods and products they can have. They can have things with sweet taste without affecting their blood sugar.
Is sweet and low aspartame or is it something else?
What?
Sweet and low? Because it tastes
No,
like
it's aspartame.
horrible. But like by itself, it's like really gross. Is that just because it's like so sweet that it makes your
Probably just
tongue
it's,
like?
it's just chemicals, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you should have a very little amount of aspartame. So if you're just,
I just chug them.
yeah.
Yeah. By the night.
Also, aspartame is beneficial for weight management because it's a low-calorie sweetener. It ties into the billion-dollar diet market that we have in America. And with 1 in 3 Americans being considered overweight or obese, aspartame is becoming more and more heavily used as people try and lose weight. So, the dangers of aspartame. And we have a whole video.
So are all the characters in the Flintstone things, are all the threads the same color?
I don't know, I never opened it. You can open it? Hey, ma'am.
You can? You can?
Yeah, go
you
for
Are you
it.
sure?
Are you not gonna get mad?
No.
If I spit?
You can have it.
So good.
Yeah.
Telling you why. Nutrasweet is why.
Those were the good old days when manufactured sweeteners like aspartame delivered sweetness and promised good health. We'd all be thin and happy.
It's not quite that simple, because we now know data from Harvard Medical School that children who eat diet sodas gain weight. Well, how could this be? There's no calories.
Dr. Barry Sears says more and more research shows this empty sweetness makes the body expect food. When it doesn't arrive, you actually get hungrier.
And so this begins to explain the paradox. The more basically sugar-free soft drinks you drink, the fatter you become.
And not only may artificial sweeteners increase obesity, many experts say they're bad for you in other ways. So why am I pouring a Diet Cola into a hot pan? Well, the heat simulates what happens in your body when you consume aspartame, breaking it down into toxic formaldehyde. Food scientist Woodrow Monty explains that the aspartame molecule contains a precursor to formaldehyde, methyl alcohol.
In the circulation of the brain, in the veins and arteries of the brain, there's an enzyme that can convert methyl alcohol to formaldehyde, and in the human breast.
Monty says that means an increased risk of breast cancer. This chart shows how breast cancer has risen along with the increased use of aspartame. That conversion into formaldehyde could also mean multiple sclerosis. With MS, the body attacks the nervous system and scars the brain. Plus, this Chinese study found that even extremely low doses of formaldehyde damage the brain's memory proteins.
It can start changing its structure and the way it folds, and start producing strange misformations and malformations, the same kind of malformations that we find in Alzheimer's disease.
After the Food and Drug Administration approved aspartame in 1981, Monty wrote of his concerns that the sweetener might cause cancer, as well as genetic damage and birth defects.
We did not know, and I said we did not know, but we're experimenting. Well, now we do know. And the answer to all 3 of those questions is yes, yes, and yes.
Recently, when leading European researchers found a cancer connection, the government still wouldn't budge. FDA finds no reason to alter its previous conclusion that aspartame is safe as a general-purpose sweetener in food. Yet the International Agency for Research on Cancer now names formaldehyde, produced in the body by aspartame, as definitely causing cancer.
So they talk a lot about formaldehyde and that. And I haven't done too much research on formaldehyde, but from what I get is that the methanol can be converted by the body into formaldehyde, but I don't necessarily know if that has to do with aspartame. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So these 2 women, Edith Johnson and Kate Randall, were highlighted in one of the videos that you guys, or previously in a video that we just kind of skipped over. So I'm just going to go over their stories. Edith Johnson drank a low-calorie hot chocolate every single night for a few months and was sweetened with aspartame. of a sudden, one night, became completely blurred in her vision, couldn't see, and that lasted for a few hours, and she's convinced that that has to do with her drinking aspartame. And Kate Randall consumed 9 Diet Cokes a day for 5 years, and one day, yeah, it's
That's
disgusting.
gross.
One day, she woke up with her legs and arms and temple twitching uncontrollably. She went to the doctor's office, and they told her it was a glitch in her system, and she decided she could do some more research, thought it was attributed to aspartame, stopped consuming aspartame, and 2 years later, her symptoms went away. So I want to know from you guys, do you think this is scientific proof that, that necessarily has to do with aspartame? I don't think so either. Since its approval in 1981, there have been 10,000 filed complaints on aspartame, and it's an important thing to note about aspartame. The ADI limit, or the acceptable daily intake limit on aspartame, it's set in milligrams per kilogram, which correlates to a person's body weight. So the FDA has decided that 50 milligrams per kilogram of aspartame a day is acceptable. So for a person who weighs 150 pounds, that's like 20 cans of Diet Coke and 100 sweetener packets, which sounds excessive, but according to the Aspartame Information Center, of the people who consume aspartame on a daily basis, 10% of the heavy users are consuming more than this ADI limit. So there are people out there who are having more than the acceptable amount.
We just said the ADI.
FDA. Alright, so I have some facts for you guys. Less than, you can go.
Is this an optical illusion?
No. It's like percentages. There's 100 dots, so I'm doing this out of percent. So, I don't know. Less than 1% of the population actually consumes aspartame. And in a Department of Health and Services investigation on aspartame, which is famously known as the 92 symptoms of aspartame, and we'll get to that list in a little bit, the FDA listed a bunch of percentages based off of people who consume aspartame, and this are all the complaints. 4% complain of memory loss, 5% complain of having seizures or convulsions, 6% notice a change in vision, 11% reported feeling dizzy, 19% complained of a headache, and of those complaints, 26% say this is due to consuming packets like Equal or NutraSweet, and 46% say that the problems are attributed to consuming Diet Coke. And that's all according to an investigation done by the FDA. Here is a list of the side effects of aspartame that from the FDA website, the 92 symptoms list that I was talking about. Some of them are pain when swallowing, itching, chest palpitations, death, irreversible brain damage, and this list goes on for quite a while.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's a pretty big list. So now we're going to get to phenylketonuria, which is a metabolic disease. But before we talk about how aspartame is metabolized in someone who has PKU, we need to talk about how it's metabolized in a normal person. So I'm going to go to this website. It's like an interactive site that we've done before.
The body breaks down aspartame into the same components that are found in everyday foods like milk, meat, fruits, and vegetables. See for yourself. The lowdown on the breakdown. The body breaks down aspartame into the same components that are found in everyday foods like milk, meat, fruits, and vegetables. These components are absorbed and used by the body in the same way, regardless of whether they come from a cheeseburger or glass of aspartame-sweetened lemonade. To understand the process, let's first look at how the body treats common foods. Click on one of the food combinations at top right to proceed.
Which one?
Do the
should we pick?
banana!
Which one?
Chicken.
Apple juice? Want to?
Chicken.
Banana.
Go for it. Let's do that one.
Cheese and apple juice. By the time the cheese and apple juice reach the small intestine, early stages of digestion already have begun. Foods are broken apart into their constituent components: carbohydrate, fat, protein, vitamins, minerals, water, and other substances. In a systematic manner, enzymes present in the gut further break down the carbohydrate, fat, and protein